Sir Bartle Frere, the British High Commissioner, prepares for war against the Zulu nation. Ketwayo, King of the Zulus, has reneged on a treaty he had agreed to when the British officially installed him as king in September 1873. The treaty imposed certain conditions, a few of which were as follows. Indiscriminate murders and executions were to cease. Major offences to be preceded by fair trial. Confiscation of property for minor offences, not the death penalty. Missionaries to be allowed to perform their duties without interference. The Zulu army was to disband, and the men permitted to return to their homes. Every man was free to marry on reaching maturity. Ketwayo had no intention of abiding by the agreement, and the High Commissioner soon came to realize the fact when he discovered that the Zulu army was being enlarged and that some 40,000 trained and disciplined warriors stood ready to wash their spears. Frere requested reinforcements from England. These were refused. The British government and the Prime Minister Disraeli did not want war with the Zulus. Frere persisted in his demand and briefed the general officer commanding Her Majesty's troops in South Africa, Frederick Augustus Thesiger, soon to become the second Lord Chelmsford on the death of his father. Sir Bartle Frere's final decision culminated in an ultimatum to the Zulu king, again pressing impossible conditions that would bind him to the British crown. Ketwayo was to reply within 30 days. No such reply was forthcoming. Then, in January 1879, Napoleon, Eugene, Louis, Jean, Joseph, Prince Imperial, born the 16th of March, 1856. Killed by the enemy in Zululand, Africa, 1st of June, 1879. Rest in peace. Louis Napoleon, Prince Imperial and heir to the throne of France. Only child of Emperor Napoleon III and the Empress Eugenie. The Second French Empire is on the wane. In July 1870, France declares war on Prussia. The Emperor takes command of the French army. It is a disastrous war for Napoleon. Soon his armies are defeated and collapse. The Second Empire is no more. The Emperor is captured and jailed. The Empress Eugenie and Louis, the Prince Imperial, escape and find refuge in England. Later, the Emperor is released from captivity in France and joins his exiled family across the Channel. The Prince's education continues in England, and in 1872 he enters the Royal Military Academy at Woolwich, affectionately known as the Shop. In 1873, the Emperor dies, and Louis inherits the leadership of the Bonapartist party. In 1875, he graduates. His position, 7th out of a class of 34 cadets. In 1879, he is 23 years old. I will call him happy in the opportunity of his death. Had he lived, what of artificiality, what of hollow unreality might there not have been in store for him? As it was, he had moved in the world a live ghost. Better than this, surely, to be a dead hero, to end a Napoleonic serio comedy with his young face gallantly to his assailant and his life's blood drawn by the cold steel. To be slain by savages in an obscure corner of a remote continent was a miserable end, truly, for him who was once the son of France. So wrote the Victorian journalist Archibald Forbes in his book Souvenirs of Some Continents and Memories and Studies of War and Peace. Extract from a leading article in the United Service Gazette 28th of June, 1879, states, "In the grave disasters which have befallen our arms, with their terrible tales of butchery and death, we had at least the proud consciousness that our fellow countrymen did their duty stoutly and bravely to the last. They died as British soldiers had been wont to die, back to back, with their faces to the encircling foe." But the dread news of the Prince's death has filled every true English breast with misgivings. The story as it stands reads like a national disgrace. Shame is the overpowering emotion which takes precedence of all others when we hear that a gallant youth, not only an imperial prince, the hope of a great party, the sole comfort and support of a widowed mother, much buffeted by adverse fortune, but a comrade in arms, has been abandoned to his fate, while companions, fortunate and more swift, galloped off for their lives. Information has come to hand that a British officer put his own personal safety above all other considerations, and without waiting to see what had befallen his companions, ignobly take to his heels, etc., etc.
Lieutenant J.B. Carey, 98th Regiment. You are charged with misbehavior before the enemy. On the 1st of June, 1879, when in command of an escort, in attendance on the Prince Imperial, who was making a reconnaissance in Zululand, in having, when the said Prince and escort were attacked by the enemy, galloped away, and in not having attempted to rally the said escort, or in other ways defend the said Prince.
Tonight. If I told you, you would not sleep all night.
Are you trying to tell me that you are going out to Africa to serve against the Zulus?
Today I sent a letter to the Duke of Cambridge for permission to serve.
Louis.
All the officers have volunteered to go. How can I show my face to them again when they will all be out there?
If anything happens to you, your supporters will not cry for you. They will have a grudge against you.
Owing to the accident of my birth, I am not my own master. God has willed it so, and I cannot, even if I would, escape from the destiny which He has appointed for me. Whether I like it or not, I happen to be the effective head of a great party, which believes itself to be, and which we believe to be, truly representative of France. I have been an exile since my childhood, and I have grown up here at Camden Place. There is one thing a man can always do. That is to show that he does not value his life too highly, but is prepared to risk it without counting the cost. England has been kind in the past to my father, who has sheltered us in our exile, and now shows us all manner of kindness. In Africa, I shall be able to show that I am no coward, and when I have proved that I am willing to risk my life for a country which is not my own, but which I owe a debt of gratitude, I shall prove that I am equally ready to risk it in the service of my own country when she has need of me. Dear Maman, I believe you have taken care of the money matters for bequest. I enclose my last testament. I am sure you will be concerned.
I desire my body to be laid by that of my father until such time.
My last thought will be for my country. It is for my country I would wish to die.
When I am no more, I trust that my mother will keep for me the loving remembrance I shall keep for her. until my last moment.
Let my private friends, my servants, and those I represent be assured of my gratitude.
I shall die with a sentiment of profound gratitude for Her Majesty the Queen of England, and all the royal family, and for the country where I have received for 8 years such cordial hospitality.
And my last request
To my mother, the last uniform I shall ever wear.
A few days later, the Empress wrote to her mother.
Dear Mama, I want you to know before you read it in the paper of the decision of my sons to go with the English army to South Africa. You will understand my feelings and all that I have gone through on hearing this. He says he is 23 years of age and there to grace a man to do nothing. What a terrifying thing a boy is. How many times have I regretted that he was not a daughter. My life is going to become even more difficult hanging on at the end of a telegraph wire. The end of a telegraph.
Queen Victoria was delighted to hear that the young prince wished to go and fight in her army. The Duke of Cambridge has also agreed. But the Prime Minister Disraeli has said nothing could be more injudicious than the whole affair. Disraeli has been overruled by Her Majesty and has been forced to give way. The Duke, however, has stressed the fact that the Prince's role will be that of an observer and not an officer.
February the 25th, 1879. My dear Chelmsford, this letter will be forwarded to you by the Prince Imperial, who is going out on his own account to see as much as he can of the coming campaign in Zululand. He's extremely anxious to go out and wanted to be employed in our army, but the government did not consider that this could be sanctioned. But have sanctioned me only to you and to Sir Bartle Frere, to say that if you show him kindness and tender him a position to see as much as he can with the column in the field, I hope you will do so. He is a fine young fellow, full of spirit and pluck, having many old cadet friends in the artillery. You will undoubtedly find no difficulty in getting on, and if you can help him in any other way, please do so. My only anxiety on his conduct would be that he is too plucky, and go ahead. I remain, my dear Chelmsford, George, Duke of Cambridge.
Lieutenant Jehiel Brenton Carey has already served 14 years in the army and is well suited for staff duties. He is the son of a vicar and lives with his wife and 2 daughters in Devon, England. He has been educated in France and has passed through Sandhurst, thereafter receiving a free commission in the 3rd West India Regiment. Jehiel, his first name from the Book of Judges 5, son of Zebulun, the tribe of whom Deborah sang. They were a people that jeoparded their lives unto death in the high places of the field. In 1867, he served in Honduras, and in 1870 with an English ambulance unit in France. Eventually, he is transferred to the 98th Regiment and passes through the Staff College, then volunteers for the Zulu campaign. Trooper Lecoq, a French-speaking Channel Islander. Sergeant Willis. Troopers Abel, Cochran, Rogers, all of them Natal irregulars. Corporal Grubb, 16 years in the Royal Artillery, and has farmed in Natal for 10 years.
Sir, I would like to request permission to accompany a patrol tomorrow morning. I could then finish my sketch of the projected site of the new camp, sir.
Yes. Well, the ground has been pronounced free of Zulus. Should be in sight of the 11th Division and the flying column.
Well, sir...
I shouldn't think there could be any harm done, providing you take a proper escort. I suggest 6 of Bettington's troopers and 6 men of the Edendale contingent. You realize that the natives can spot movement on a landscape far more quickly than we can.
Sir.
Evening, sir. Sorry to disturb you.
Good evening, Carey.
I'd like permission to accompany the Prince tomorrow, sir.
All right. We'll sort it out in the morning.
Thanks, sir. Night, sir.
Good night, Carey.
I am writing hurriedly on a page in my notebook. In a few minutes, I'm off to select a camping ground. The enemy is concentrating in force, and an engagement is expected in a week's time. I do not know when I shall be able to send you any news, for the postal facilities leave much to be desired. I did not want to let slip this opportunity for embracing you with all my heart.
Ready, sir.
Come, let's move off. The pursuers can follow.
You have to watch him. He seems temperamental.
Oh, more like high-spirited.
Good morning. I notice the pursuit escort is not with you. Shouldn't you wait for them before you continue?
No, there are quite enough of us.
Your Highness, Carey, do not interfere with the Prince. Yes, sir.
Take care of yourself. Do not worry. Harry will look after me. And don't get shot.
Hardly worthwhile to walk saddle here, huh?
We go down to the kraal.
There's water close by. The men can get wood and cook something. I don't think we should go down there, Your Highness. It is rather enclosed. No. I don't like it.
Oi, ma'am.
You cannot settle here. Or saddle and rest a while. There's dogs about, Sergeant. But those dogs don't rest.
3:30. I think we should move now, Your Highness. Let us rest for another 10 minutes or so.
What does he say?
Says he saw Zulus come over the hill. Everybody, round up the horses, saddle up. We'll forward on the other side. There, come on. down, sir. I fear he is killed. Let's move.
Shortly after the wild flight of the survivors from the Zulu kraals, they had the misfortune to come across a mounted escort led by Redvers Buller and Evelyn Wood. The actual dialogue between them has never been fully substantiated. However, history records the following conversation.
Why, they riders of the Zulus are after them. Lieutenant, whatever is the matter with you?
The Prince Imperial is killed.
Where? Where's his body?
I don't know.
You deserve to be shot, and I hope will be. I could shoot you myself.
Where is the Prince, Lieutenant Carey? Speak, sir. What has happened?
The Prince, I fear, is killed, sir.
Then, sir, what are you doing here?
Sir? Carey, you're back late. We thought you'd been shot.
I'm all right, sir. But the Prince is killed.
Sir, the Prince Imperial is killed.
That night, Lieutenant Carey wrote to his wife, outlining the terrible events of the day. Extracts from his letter are:
My own one, you know the dreadful news ere you receive this. I am a ruined man, I fear. Though from my letter, which will be in the papers, you will see I could not do anything else. The loss of a prince is a fearful thing. To me, the whole thing is a dream. It is but 8 hours ago since it happened. The men all bolted. No doubt they will say I should have remained by him, but I thought he was behind me. What will the Empress say? Only a few minutes before our surprise, he was discussing the campaigns of 1800 and 1796, criticizing Napoleon's strategy. Tomorrow, we go with the 17th Lancers to find his body, poor fellow. But it might have been my fate. As regards the prince, I am innocent. As I did not know he was wounded, and thought our best plan was to make an offing. Oh, Annie, how near I have been to death. I have looked it in the face, and have been spared.
20th of June, 1879. Queen Victoria is in residence at Balmoral Castle.
Today is 42 years since she ascended the throne. At 20 minutes to 11 this evening, the Highland gilly John Brown knocked and came in and said there was bad news. And when she, in alarm, asked what, he replied, the young French prince was killed.
Lord Sidney, the Lord High Chamberlain, has travelled to Camden Place to break the awful news. He talks with the Duc de Bassano, who has to deliver the sad tidings to the Empress Eugenie.
Is my son ill? Speak. Speak. Is he wounded? I am going out. I shall start for Africa at once.
Alas, madame, I hardly know what to say. It is too late.
The news hit England like a bombshell. In France, the storm burst in a fury. One journalist wrote,
The excitement is too great to reason calmly upon the subject. But the reflection is forced upon us that there has been solved one of the most difficult problems of French history.
The body has been recovered. I shall bury it here with such military honors as are possible. I've always felt that it was somewhat unfair to saddle me with the responsibility which naturally would be attached to such a charge. But I had to accept it with all the rest.
It was the only complaint the Commander-in-Chief made on the subject. However, when he gave the order for the funeral, his staff urgently talked him out of it, pointing out that the body of the Prince Imperial would have to be sent to England. Lieutenant Carey was virtually placed in Coventry and shunned by his brother officers. His situation was growing impossible to bear. He, and he alone, was being blamed for the whole affair. He continued with his duties, but finally, exasperated and angered, he requested a court of inquiry. He was suspended from duty, and after taking statements and hearing evidence, the court recommended a trial by general court-martial, which was held in a tent at the camp Upogo River, Zululand, 12th of June, 1879.
Lieutenant J.B. Carey, 98th Regiment. You are charged with misbehavior before the enemy. On the 1st of June, 1879, when in command of an escort in attendance on the Prince Imperial who was making a reconnaissance in Zululand, in having, when the said prince and escort were attacked by the enemy, galloped away, and in not having attempted to rally the said escort, or in other ways defend the said prince.
I learned that His Imperial Highness was to proceed on June the 1st to reconnoiter the country and complete sketches of the terrain. I suggested to Colonel Harrison that I accompany the prince. Shortly before setting off, I found that the 6th Lesotho escort did not arrive. I suggested to the prince that we wait, but he was keen to move on. He said that the Lesotho could follow.
So, as I understand it, the patrol consisted of yourself, the prince, 6 men of Beckington's horse, and a Zulu guide.
Yes, sir. Please proceed. Shortly after leaving the camp, we came upon Colonel Harrison. He questioned the prince.
Shouldn't you wait for them before you continue?
I saw no objection to the prince going out on patrol, so long as the usual escort was provided. There were no Zulu inches in the area, and the cavalry, which was part of the division, was extended over the country far in advance of the camp. So, Colonel, I gave permission. However, I gave the prisoner no orders as to the command of the escort. The senior combatant officer would be in command of the whole party by Queen's regulations. I gave him no special orders because I didn't know who the senior officer was. Captain Beckington might have gone. Yet you said to Lieutenant Carey...
Carey, do not interfere with the prince.
I can hardly believe that a remark like that could be construed as a direct order to command.
I submit that I was not in command of the patrol. It was led by the prince.
You, a commissioned officer, with full authority of the mounted volunteers, you say you were not in command.
Yes.
Lieutenant Carey, the Prince Imperial held neither rank nor authority within the British Army. Yet you claim that he was in charge of the patrol?
The prince had always worn the uniform of an officer of the Royal Artillery. He had acted like and been treated as an officer. He gave orders to the men which had been obeyed. The charge brought against me is as serious as any that could be brought against an officer. Misbehavior before the enemy can only be interpreted as cowardice. However deplorable might be the death of the prince, no one regrets it more than I. The escort was said to be under my charge, but I was never informed as such. And I believed I was accompanying the Prince Imperial as a brother officer of junior rank performing similar duties.
Senior or junior, was it not your duty to do all in your power to rescue the prince from his perilous position?
Yes. But considering all the facts, there was only one reasonable course open to us. As to deserting the prince, I last saw him running beside his horse preparing to mount. It is common knowledge that the prince was an expert in the art of vaulting into the saddle while on the run. The evidence has shown that we were attacked by some 30 to 40 Zulus. With such proof of a superior force about, and with the belief that the prince was mounted, it was my duty, I thought, to consider the safety of the whole party. The fact is, a rush of the enemy took place. We were under heavy fire, and we rode away. There was little doubt in my mind that the prince was riding away at the same time.
But the witness, Sergeant Willis, tells us something different.
We rode down the hill to the crowd. There were 4 or 5 huts, grass, and some crops. We were ordered by the prince to off-saddle. We then proceeded to collect firewood and thatch in order to cook some coffee. At about 3:30, Lieutenant Carey said we should mount up and move out. But His Highness replied that we should stay some 10 minutes longer.
Let us rest for another 10 minutes or so.
It was about at this time, sir, that our Zulu guide ran up to talk to Corporal Grubb.
Were you able to make out what he said?
Not really, sir. Corporal Grubb speaks the lingo very well, sir. He interpreted.
And what did the guide say?
He said he had seen Zulu coming over the hill. As soon as Corporal Grubb told us what the guide had seen, I saw Lieutenant Carey and the Prince jump to their feet.
Who gave the first order?
I think it was the Prince, sir. Something about collect your horses. We saddled up as quickly as we could.
You mean everybody ran for the horses?
Yes, sir, to saddle up, sir. Then, maybe a few minutes later, a volley was fired at us. The Prince then gave the order to mount.
And was that the last you saw of the Prince?
I can't say for sure. I saw two men fall from the horses. A while later, I caught up with Lieutenant Carey.
You caught up with Lieutenant Carey? So the lieutenant was ahead of you?
Oh, yes, sir.
We rode about 20 miles from the campsite. And that is before we reached the kraal.
The campsite? What camp are you referring to, Corporal?
Italesi, sir. As I said, before we reached the kraal. We went with Lieutenant Carey and the Prince. They were making some sketches of the terrain. The officers spotted a small kraal, and the Prince suggested we ride down there and rest and cook some coffee. There was about 5 huts in the kraal, and I noticed that the Zulus must have been there some time before.
Did you mention that to any of the officers?
No, sir. I discussed it with Trooper Cochrane. It was common with most kraals we came across. A recent fireplace, a few dogs, some bones. I didn't think we were in a dangerous position. It wasn't until the Zulu guide came up and talked to me that I realized we could be in trouble.
Did you also hear the Prince give the orders?
Yes, sir. After we'd saddled up, the Zulus fired at us. They rushed out shouting, "Usutu, here are the English cowards." I put spurs to my horse and rode out. Trooper Abel was almost level with me. Suddenly he threw his arms in the air and fell from his horse. I was certain he'd been shot. I turned round then and I saw the Prince hanging on to the leather of his saddle. Then he fell.
Were there any Zulus close to him?
They were a little way from him. I turned in my saddle and tried to fire. Eventually I rode up to Lieutenant Carey.
Do you remember the last orders given?
I heard no order after the Prince shouted mount.
How many Zulus were there, and what were they firing with?
There must have been about 30. From the whiz of the bullet that struck Trooper Abel, I know they had Martini Henrys.
Trooper Cochrane, did you see the Prince go down?
When I crossed the Donga, I saw the Prince a short ways off on foot, closely pursued by Zulus. And when I lost sight of him, I followed Lieutenant Carey. He gave no orders. A while later, Grubb and Willis approached and told us that Abel and Rogers and the guide were killed.
In what direction was the Prince running?
He was running after us.
How many Zulus were pursuing him?
About a dozen, sir.
How far away were they?
Fairly close. They all had guns and assegais.
Was any effort made to rally or halt, or any attempt made to save the Prince?
No, sir. We only had 3 rifles with us.
How so?
Some of us thought that arms weren't necessary. The area was supposed to be free of Zulus.
And nobody asked about the Prince?
We were separated. That is until we rode up to Lieutenant Carey.
Trooper Letalk, would you kindly tell the court what occurred when you rode by the Prince and what you said to him?
I shouted, "Hurry up if you please, sir, and mount your horse." The Prince made no reply. He fell. The Zulus were firing all the time. I saw no more of the Prince.
Were any orders given to rally or halt or to save the Prince?
No, sir.
Did any of you mention the Prince, or did Lieutenant Carey say anything about him?
The lieutenant asked if we had seen the Prince. We told him what we knew. We all agreed that he was killed.
Lieutenant Carey, would you say that you have had more experience in matters military than the Prince Imperial?
Yes, of course, sir.
Then how is it possible that no sentry was posted when you arrived? That no search was made of the surrounding area?
that you simply dismounted and that you and your patrol indulged in a picnic. Lieutenant Carey, you are a staff college officer, and yet you made no representation whatsoever on the safety of the patrol to the Prince Imperial, who you claim was in charge. According to evidence led by officers in this court, it has been clearly shown that the Prince Imperial had no status within the British Army, and therefore no authority over any of Her Majesty's officers or men. There is no reason why the prisoner, Lieutenant Carey, should evade the responsibility, that of being in command of the patrol. General Harrison has pointed out, and I quote, the senior competent officer would be in command of the whole party by Queen's regulations. Lieutenant Carey has admitted that it was his duty to rescue the prince, but it's clear that he failed to do so. In fact, they all galloped away, and according to the evidence of the troopers, the lieutenant was the first to gallop away. No orders were given to the men to rally or to fire. In fact, it seems like a case of each man for himself. It has also been shown that the prince was seen in the donga and had been able to run alongside his horse for quite a while before falling down. Not one of the men turned to fire in spite of being armed with rifles. Not a single shot was fired. I submit it was the prisoner's duty to see that the prince was safe. He had not done so, and it's the court to decide whether the evidence did not suit the said charge. Namely, that the prisoner had been guilty of misbehavior before the enemy.
The court sat for 2 days. Lieutenant Carey faced his court-martial with coolness, his attitude one of unconcern, quite ready to shift the blame and responsibility to the prince. Soon the court, which had been divided on certain points, now turned against him.
Lieutenant Carey, it is my considered opinion that you did absolutely nothing to save the life of the Prince Imperial.
Lieutenant Carey was found guilty of misbehavior in the face of the enemy. He was to be shipped home to England immediately, where sentence would be decided upon. Strangely enough, he was gazetted captain on June the 6th, 1879. The original proceedings of the case were destroyed. The Judge Advocate General's summary and recommendations are preserved at the Public Record Office in London and would not be open to the public for 100 years, an unusually long period. The year 1979 has passed by, but so far the record has not yet been revealed.
Tell me they'll do nothing to that poor old man. Oh no, I beg of you. He may have a mother. I accuse no one. I do not speak for one. I do not want to fan the flames of anti-British feeling in France. I have requested the Queen to prevent any recrimination against the man who abandoned my son. The only earthly consolation I have is in the idea that my beloved child fell as a soldier, obeying orders on the duty which was commanded, and that those who gave them did so because they thought him competent and useful. Let the memory of his death unite in a common sorrow all those who loved him, and let no one suffer, either in his reputation or in his interest.
Official dispatch from London. The Court Martial. War Office, August the 16th, 1879.
Sir, the proceedings of the General Court-Martial assembled at the camp, Upoko River, Zululand, on the 12th of June, 1879, for the trial of Lieutenant J.B. Carey, 98th Regiment, on a charge of misbehavior before the enemy, having been submitted to the Queen. Her Majesty has been advised that the charge is not sustained by the evidence and has, accordingly, been graciously pleased not to confirm the proceedings, and to direct that the prisoner be relieved from all consequences of his trial. Captain Carey is released from arrest and will rejoin his regiment to duty, etc., etc.
Captain Jehiel Brenton Carey's trial had been a mass of conflicting opinions. The results satisfied no one. From the time he rode away from that Zulu kraal, the stigma remained. After rejoining his regiment, his brother officers ostracized him, again turned their backs on him. Carey, completely disillusioned and broken, departed with his regiment for India. And, as reported in the Army and Navy Gazette some years later, Captain J. Carey, 98th Regiment, of unfortunate history in Zululand, has, we regret to hear, died under mysterious circumstances in India, a victim of much persecution. Not all military opinion was against him. Numerous letters expressed sympathy, these from serving soldiers. Also, there were many other factors involved in this strange and sad affair. Colonel Harrison and Lord Chelmsford, the Zulus, a broken leather strap, a grey horse, Queen Victoria, and the Empress Eugenie. Lieutenant Carey's share of the blame was no greater than all the others. Could the first mistake have been with that of the British Army, for allowing the Prince to go out through South Africa? In the year 1880, the Empress Eugenie made a pilgrimage to Zululand in South Africa. She had decided to spend the first anniversary of her son's death at the place where he was killed.
Towards early morning, a strange thing happened. Although there was not a breath of air, the flames of the candles were suddenly deflected, as if someone wished to extinguish them. And I said to him, "Is it indeed you here beside me? Do you wish me to go away?"
The final word came from the Duke of Cambridge, the Commander-in-Chief, in a letter to Lord Chelmsford.
The whole lamentable episode was, from first to last, inexplicable.
Close to the Prince Imperial's former home, Camden Place, on a common in Chislehurst, England, stands this monument to him. On the back face is an inscription taken from his last will and testament, Clause 6.
I shall die with a sentiment of profound gratitude for Her Majesty the Queen of England, for all the royal family, and for the country where I have received during 8 years such cordial hospitality.
Was the prince, in fact, psychic? Did he have a presentiment of his death in a far-off land? What was in his mind when he said to a senior British officer in the field,
"If I have to die, I should prefer an assegai to a bullet. It would prove I'd been close to the enemy."
Today, in a lonely part of Natal in South Africa, stands another stone monument, marking the spot where the heir to the throne of France fell. Napoleon, Eugene, Louis, Jean, Joseph. The Prince Imperial had lost his life and his cause. With his passing, passed also all hope of ever seeing the Napoleonic dynasty restored to the throne of France.